Hey guys, welcome to my channel, English for IT Professionals. My name is Terry and today's lesson is 5 expressions for Sprint Retrospective meetings. I'm going to give you 5 basic expressions and some variations that will help you feel more confident and ready to communicate in your next Sprint Retrospective meeting. So these are the 5 expressions that we have here. What went well during the sprint, what could we improve? And I'm going to explain one by one with variations, grammar and pronunciation problems. So really help you understand and explain. So the objective is that you feel ready to understand and then you will start to use it. Because step 1 is understanding, step 2 is using, okay? Let's look at expression 1. What went well during this sprint? And as part of a sprint retrospective, that's about recognizing successes, encouraging the team to notice what worked effectively. Encouraging the team to notice what worked effectively. Now, as we look at some of the variations here, we have what went well. Went is the past tense of the verb go. As in what is going well, present, and what went well during this sprint. Now we have some variations of during the sprint, what went well, it's the same thing. And then we have what was good during this sprint. Now it's interesting that we have well and we have good, and I'm going to explain in more detail. But if you look here that you can, in the verb, and with well and good, it's to go well and it was good. So what was good during the sprint? What went right during the sprint? Or what worked well during the sprint? And finally, what did we do well in the sprint? Now, this is important to understand because sometimes good and well, they can be the exact same word in different languages or there's no real difference. In English, there is a difference because with well, it's about describing a verb. What went well. But if you say what was good, it's more about a thing or a noun or an idea. And it's important not to confuse this. I said what went good is incorrect. It's what went well during the sprint and what was good during the sprint. Because good is an adjective. An adjective describes a thing. Like the sprint was good. The pair programming, and well is an adverb, and adverb describes a verb, as in, or describes an action. The sprint went well. Now, there's one detail that I'm Irish, but I watch a lot of TV series that are from America, Canada, Australia, and there are some small moments in casual conversations that native speakers maybe break the rules a little bit. For example, the absolute correct version is the deployment went well and finished on time. Now, you see this here, technically it's incorrect, but it's my observation, especially with North American speakers, to say something went good, went real good. And it's possible, but not exactly correct. So again, for work, emails, meetings, interviews, use well and good correctly. In casual conversations, you can have this, the deployment went real good. So just be ready, okay? So some examples. What went well during the sprint? Communication between the team members went really well. Pair programming worked well for solving tricky problems. What worked well during the sprint? The team collaborated well on the new feature. The team handled the bug fixes well under pressure. What was good during this sprint? Our sprint planning was good because we estimated tasks accurately. Our communication during the sprint was good. So that difference again between well and good, that good is describing a noun or a thing. Expression 2, what could we improve for the next sprint? About finding what we can do better, thinking of ways to fix problems. So some variations here of what could we improve for the next sprint or what can we improve for the next sprint. The next idea here is how can we do better next sprint? How can we improve next sprint? And finally, what should we focus on improving next time? Now, with can and could, they're very similar, but can is a little bit less polite, more direct. It's still friendly, it's not rude, but it's more task focused. Could is a little bit more polite, but maybe a bit more like less pressure, like sounds softer and more respectful. What could we improve? What can we improve? Almost you hear the tone in my voice. So the number one mistake that I see that students have a problem with is that in your language, I don't know your language, but with questions, you don't change the word order. And I hear a lot of students, how we can do better. And it's something for English native speakers is just automatic. That when we have the modal verbs, can, could, would, should, the verb to be, that when we have a question word like what, when, how, we will change the order. So it's always how can we do better next sprint. Now, this is very similar for could and should, and I hear this a lot with a lot of students that after like the word how, what, when, where, etc., they forget to change the order. That some people think that because how is the word in the sentence, so it's already a question, so I don't need to change the word order. But you do really need, and you can see it here, how we can do better, how we could, so how can we, how could we, what should we, all right? Now the next thing is with could, it's always has the base verb after. How could we improve? You can see here, how could we improving or to improve, both are incorrect. And here with what should we focus on improving? So focus on, and on is a preposition. A basic rule in English is that after every preposition, if you have a verb, you will have the gerund. A gerund is the verb ing. And you can see here that the only correct version of this sentence is what should we focus on improving next time? That focus to improve, improve to improve, on to improve, they're all incorrect. Now, the pronunciation here is improve. So with the V, the teeth here are touching the lips here below. Improve. Improve. And the next word is the noun, because improve is a verb, and improvement. Improvement. The next word is focus. It's very, very important with the pronunciation that the first syllable is focus, not focus or focus, but it's focus. The strong syllable is the first syllable, focus. And the next one is could. So could rhymes with the word good. But I know you can see the L here, but it's not cooled, it's could. The same three words, would, could, should, the L is silent, okay? So some examples. What could we improve for the next sprint? We could improve how we estimate story points more accurately. How can we do better next sprint? We can do better by reviewing pull requests faster. What can we make better for the next sprint? We can make our handover process better by documenting tasks more clearly. Expression 3. How can we avoid issue in the future? And issue is another word for problem or obstacle or something you have a problem with, right? As an issue. So it's talking about how to stop problems from happening again and thinking about how to avoid future issues. So when we have here some variations, so how can we avoid issue in the future? How could we avoid? Again, very similar in meaning. Another small variation is say, what can we do to avoid? What can we do to avoid issue in the future? And then how can we stop issue from happening again? And stop or prevent. And you'll see it's from happening, okay? So the first thing is that avoid as a verb always takes the gerund. It always takes verb ing to avoid missing deadlines. You can see both to miss and miss are incorrect. Now, I'm repeating, but if we want to ask a question with how and can or could, you must always change the word order. How can we avoid mistakes in the future? And then again, just remember that if we have could or can, it will be the base verb, base infinitive. How could we avoid, not to avoid. The next one is how can we stop problems from happening again? So this is the basic idea. You have from as a preposition and there's from happening. And you can see from happen or from to happen are both incorrect, and usually it's a direct translation problem because English is very unusual, very strange in the way we use the verb ing. Other languages generally don't use this, or the vast majority of languages don't do this, but English does. Now, again, if you look at different variations here, how do we make sure errors don't happen again? And it's very common because, again, we have a system of negatives of don't, doesn't, didn't. But here you can see how do we make sure errors not happen again? Again, it's a small classic mistake from translating directly. So with the pronunciation, you go avoid. It's not avoid, but avoid. Avoid. Next one is prevent. 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 And then the last one is issue. So it's issue. Issue. So it's really like the word you. Issue. Issue. Okay? Issue. Some examples. How can we avoid missing deadlines in the future? We can avoid missing deadlines by starting code reviews earlier. How could we avoid merge conflicts next time? We could avoid merge conflicts next time by syncing our branches more often. What can we do to avoid confusion in the future? We can have clearer task assignments to avoid confusion in the future. Expression 4. One thing I'd like to continue is and practice. Now, practice in this case, it talks about a process or a normal action in the company, as in this is good practice or bad practice of like the rules or procedures. So one thing I'd like to continue is, more pair programming, more code reviews or something like that. Like to do code reviews is a practice. Now we look at the variations. One thing I'd like to continue is, one thing I really want to continue is, so it's very similar. But the next one is I want to keep doing. Now, keep doing and continue are the same basic idea, but we'll see in a minute the small difference. And I'd like us to keep doing, which I would like us, the team, to keep doing, or I'd like the team to keep doing in the practice. So with continue, you really have two options, as in continue doing something that's a little bit more common, or to continue to do something. There's basically zero difference in meaning. It doesn't change the idea, but definitely to continue doing something is more common. And now with the pronunciation, if you've got 3 syllables, continue. The second syllable is a strong one. So strong syllable means that you are speaking or saying the syllable for a microsecond longer. So practice with me. Continue. Continue. And not continue. Continue. Okay? Now again, continue to work is okay. Continue working. Continue to working. Continue to work. Both are incorrect. And they're common mistakes. So if we have continue, it's more formal. I'm not saying it's super formal, but keep going is more casual and more conversational. And it's a very, very important one. I would say almost maybe keep going is more common in speaking in a meeting than just continue. Now, to keep and the verb at ing is the only way we express this. It's like keep working, not keep to work or to working. All are incorrect, okay? Now, when we look at this example here, I'd like us to keep doing. It's very common for students to completely translate directly and say something, I'd like that we keep doing. But the construction of the sentence is really like, for example, I want you to help. And it's not really correcting just to say, I want that you help. It's very common with French, Spanish, Portuguese speakers because that's how you create the sentence. Be ready for that one, okay? So some examples. One thing I'd like to continue is doing regular backlog grooming sessions. I'd like us to keep doing sprint reviews with stakeholders. I want to keep doing pair programming for complex tasks. Expression 5. Do we all agree on action moving forward? This is checking if everyone agrees and making sure everyone knows the plan, of course. Some meetings are not clear. Now, we have some variations here. Do we all agree on action moving forward? Or does everyone agree with action going forward? Or are we all in an agreement? We'll see this expression in a second. Do we all agree to? Now, if you have agree on, it's like a plan, and then agree to would be like a verb. Do we all agree to do more sprint reviews with the stakeholders? Other variations are we all okay with? Is everyone happy with? Do we all say yes to? And then the action. So let's look just at agree. We've got to agree on something, to agree with someone, and to come to an agreement. So agree on something is when you agree on a topic, idea, or plan. I agree with you, you agree with me. Agree on something is when you agree about a topic, idea, or plan. We all agree on this idea, this plan, right? And agree with is much more about opinion. As in, you have your opinion, I have my opinion, you agree with me. But the idea that if we all agree on something is that we have this plan for the app, for the deployment, so we agree on this idea. But you can have different opinions about the idea. And then finally, come to an agreement. That is when people discuss and talk and decide together, okay, we have an agreement, we come to an agreement. So agree on something, for example, we agree on the new schedule. Agree with someone, do you agree with me in my opinion? Come to an agreement. The team came to an agreement on the project deadline. So the pronunciation is agree, agree. And then the next one is agreement, agreement. So some examples. Do we all agree on doing regular code reviews moving forward? Yes, regular code reviews really helped us catch mistakes early. Do we all agree to start the sprint planning earlier next time? I agree. Starting sprint planning earlier will make everything smoother. Does everyone agree with adding an extra day for testing going forward? Yes, adding more testing time will definitely help catch more bugs. So this is the end of the lesson for Sprint Retrospective. Here are the 5 expressions. Please comment your examples below. Practice your writing. I can give you some feedback. It would be great to hear from you. If you have suggestions or ideas, if you have an idea for a video or you want to ask for a video, I'm very, very open to suggestions. If you're still here, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to push that little like button, subscribe, recommend me to your friends. If you have a friend trying to improve their English for IT or for companies, I'm the guy on YouTube to help you. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next lesson.